Hi, everybody. I'm Desiree Dunbar, your host for the Modern Day Priestess Masterclass series. And we've been having an incredible time here, really receiving all the gifts and transmissions and activations of incredible light workers, leaders, witches, and priestesses. And today we have a very special guest, someone who I have been following for about a year now, and she has really given me personally permission to rise above what we could consider to be the witch wounds, the fears of being visible with our magic. And she's given me, just by being who she is, so much permission to be here, even hosting a masterclass about priestesses and witches. And so I'm so excited for you to receive the transmission of her work and who she is. And this is the magical and fabulous Mia Magik. Welcome.
Thanks, Desiree. Blessed. So happy to be here.
And you just look so beautiful today, and you're outdoors, and you're just embodying the radiance of the place that you're in. It looks fabulous.
Thank you. Yes, Topanga actually in the native Chumash language means the place where the mountains meet the sea, and it's a really beautiful, special, magical canyon here in California.
Oh my gosh, how important is nature to the work and practice that you have as a witch?
You know, I would say to the work, it can be the work itself, as I'm sure you know, our modern mysticism can be shifted and really accommodate wherever we live. But for me, for the practice itself, absolutely nature is the pillar. It's my most important relationship. I do everything that I do for the goddess and to speak, to give nature a voice. So everything that it says to me, everything that it communicates to me, I'm here to be a translator or an interpreter in order to help other people learn to speak the language of the earth so that we can come into a right relationship with her and live more in harmony with her again. So for the practice, it's number one. For the work, it could be adjusted a little bit depending on where you are, but for my personal practice, it's the most important thing. And I have to be surrounded by trees and live in a place like this because I come from the oldest and largest living beings on the planet, from the redwoods in Northern California. So they are my greatest teachers and have given me more than any class, any workshop ever. So I do everything for them.
That's amazing. When did you know you were a witch?
I always knew I was magical. I didn't know that reclaiming that word was going to be such an important part of my mission, actually, until I put the hat on. I'd had a friend who introduced me to the craft and got me into ceremonial magic and plant medicine, and she called what she did witchy stuff. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm into witchy stuff. I could try that out. And she always wore a top hat. And it was just her magic hat. And it was very fantastical and whimsical the way that she'd wear it. And I always said to myself, like, I need a magic hat. I want a magic hat. And I tried the top hat for a while. It was very Burning Man. I had the peacock feathers in it, and I just felt so good about it. And then one day, again at Burning Man, I met a girl who was wearing this very hat. And I put it on, and I just felt the true conical intention of it, that it is an antenna, that it is meant to also be the upside down shape of the womb, and putting the womb on our heads and being able to have that connection to the divine and to source, or for me, to the goddess. And I put the hat on, and all of the resistance that I'd had to being a witch, I would always say, oh no, I'm a wizard. I'm more the Harry Potter type of witch. I never really resonated with the word. I also hadn't looked up the etymology, that it just means wise, or one who sees, one who knows. And so when I put the hat on, instantly I just knew, oh, I'm a witch. And then once I posted the first photo that I ever did with the hat, and it just got an absolutely insane response, that's when I knew, oh, other people want to reclaim this frequency for themselves too. We don't want to believe that this is evil. We don't want to believe that this is something negative. We want our wisdom and crafting our wisdom to be something that's celebrated and something that's held safe. And so it was really the hat. Goddess bless it. It really was the hat. That's when I was like, okay, we're doing this. And then it became a transmission itself, just seeing a woman who not only provides support and transformative experiences for people through my work, but who's smiling and joyful and wanting to encourage magic and belief in what's possible and happily ever after and making our dreams come true. I think it's just such a shock. It's such a sort of cognitive dissonance to people that they respond really well to it, and it has been such a gift and obviously such a huge part of my brand. But it really was only just in the last few years that I fully claimed it and remembered that giving other people permission to reclaim it as well and honor our wisdom and all the wisdom that's been lost, which is why you're doing what you're doing here today, is of the utmost importance for us to not only build, but rebirth the kind of new earth that we all actually want to be living in.
Absolutely. And I love your sense of play because it's so creative, so fun, so engaging. And it really reminds me, being my Scorpio modern dancer self, that it's so important just to take things lightly and have a sense of play, even though it can be very serious subject matter, that bringing in the play and the ease for other people especially can really make things more accessible and more comfortable and more possible. So I just love that about you. I love your personality.
Thank you. Me too. It's taken a lot of years to cultivate giving myself permission to just be like this. And, I'm a Scorpio moon. So there are moments, as a matter of fact, right before this phone call, I was just sobbing, crying my way downstairs. And my boyfriend was like, "What's wrong, baby?" And I was like, "I don't know." And then I just put my makeup on and put the hat on, and all of a sudden she's feeling better, So you got to be able to play in all the depths and all of the sides and all of the parts too. I think that's a big piece of what I like to do is yes, we can be whimsical and childlike, and play is definitely another one of the pillars. That's what nature has taught me about, right? Nature's just playing with itself all the time. And we have to give the parts of ourselves that are shadowy or sticky or deemed yucky by society permission to come in and play and be welcome also, in order to actually let that playful energy be integrated as opposed to just sort of escapism.
Absolutely. And you mentioned your boyfriend, and I noticed that you've shared some beautiful, loving posts around this divine union. And I just think you're so beautiful together. And I know a lot of women watching are wanting that. They want a conscious relationship. They want a conscious man. They want someone who will meet or match their spiritual evolution and journey. And do you have any wisdom? How did you do that? How did you magnetize this amazing man?
Oh, girl, I did so much magic for this man. Good Lord. The thing that I would say first and foremost that I really did was I wanted to see which parts of my masculine were out of alignment. So I actually spent 2.5 years in celibacy, and I didn't date anyone. I wasn't with anyone at all because I didn't want to settle. And I think that that's a big thing that women struggle with. Even for me, my friends kept telling me, "Oh, just get on the dating apps," or like, "Oh, just go out with someone," or "Oh, just give somebody a chance," or "Oh, he's sweet and he's this," and trying to talk me into trying something that I was a no to. I did not want to settle. I wanted nothing less than the kind of king that I've manifested. And so I think that buying into your mother's story that you need to get married, or you want to find a man and have kids before your grandmother dies, or whatever the situation is, whatever it is, I could not do that because that was not what was right for me. And so I was alone for far longer than even I wanted to. I got out of a situation and I was like, okay, I need to sort of reevaluate my values in terms of relationships. And I thought I'd be celibate for 6 months or maybe a year. And it just kept going because I didn't want to settle. And so the biggest things that I would say is don't settle. Don't go out with anyone that you don't truly, in your heart, your soul, your womb, your pussy, if your pussy is not a full fuck yes to the person and there's pressure or there's like, don't do it. And that doesn't mean, because I was not sure that my partner was my partner at the beginning, but I could tell the difference between the ego and the story of fear and actually what was deep soul evolution calling me forward. And so what I personally did was I looked at all the ways that my masculine was out of alignment. What did I expect from a man that I didn't have myself? I expect a man to be successful and have a thriving business and have a big, beautiful home of his own. And et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so I focused during that time that I was alone on really building my business. And I signed a lease on a massive mansion in Topanga all by myself and paid this huge security deposit and really just was like, whoa, doing all of these things, but that I expected from a man. And so I stepped forward into holding my own masculine container and saying to myself, I am the man, I am the dream guy. And now I can feel comfortable welcoming this dream man into my space. If I invite him into my Topanga temple, I feel proud, I feel powerful, I feel good about myself. And then I did do a lot of other magical things. I crystal gridded my bed. So I had on the masculine side of my bed all obelisks. I had on the feminine side of my bed all spheres and then 2 big geodes at the base. I put balance. I feng shuied my whole house and everything was balanced. So every single thing had 2 sides looking equally decorated. So like 2 nightstands, the 2 sinks. That's one of the big things in terms of using magic and feng shui for partnership is you make the space for the person before they come. And so I made space for him everywhere, and all of my altars, all of my mantle pieces, everything was in balance so that he would feel supported, he would feel welcomed when he came in. And a month after I got that house, I met him. And so it definitely worked. But doing the work on your own shadow masculine and your own disempowered stories around men, that's really the key.
Love it. And once you magnetized this amazing king, did you know right away, or was there any part of you that was like, oh, I'm not sure, I'm going to introduce him to my friends, or I got to check this out? Or did you know, was there an inner knowing?
You know, there was both, and I'm a Gemini, so of course, there was a deeper inner knowing, but my conscious mind wasn't fully available for it yet. And I mean, the amount of growth that we've done in a year, a little less than a year and a half of being together, even I'm not sure if you know Layla Martin, but one of my best friends, she just came and held counsel for us a couple days ago. And the big thing is that a lot of people just don't do this depth of work at the beginning of a relationship. And so there was a part of me that he's a little younger than I am. So I was a little resistant to that. And he works all the time. And my life is all about freedom and a 5-hour work week and just being able to manifest whatever I want without having to struggle or effort too much. And so we're very different. He has a very different schedule than I do. And so there were a lot of things that I was like, oh no, he can't be spontaneous. And he's building these empires. And I need to be able to play and have fun and all of these things. And yet what he brings out in me, the ways that he actually reflects so much love to me that I can see where I don't even love myself that much. It's profound. And that's what I think, women want a soulmate partnership. It's harder than any relationship you've ever been in. It's not easier. It's not like more sunshine and rainbows. It's just deeper and richer and more powerful and calls more out of you, asks you to be exactly the kind of queen that you are divinely designed and ultimately destined to be. And a lot of us just don't know how to be that. So I think that looking at, does this partnership ask me to be who I most desire to be is the important question. Because if it doesn't, if it's making you less or shrink or hide, which there were elements of our partnership that did want, he was uncomfortable. I'm a sex witch. I do pleasure circles with my friends. We masturbate together. It's like, there were things that he was totally just incapable momentarily of accepting and receiving. And so it took time for us to be able to be in the depth of commitment and certainties that this is what we're supposed to be doing. But it's because we all have resistance to growth sometimes. It's like, that's hard, that hurts, ouch, I don't want to do that, I'm gonna run away. Okay, well, I was better off by myself. I don't need this shit. And then it's like, of course I do, because I want to become a more powerful priestess, a more powerful woman, a more embodied goddess. And so it's worth it. It's worth the effort.
It's worth it. That's amazing. I'm so happy for you, because I'm sure it really brings some balance with the divine, with the feminine and the masculine, both within, but also physically in the physical realm too. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And he's a big 6'5", muscly Viking. So it's definitely nice to I'm just like a little pipsqueak in his arms. I'm like, oh, he calls me Petunia. He's like, oh, little Petunia. I'm like, oh.
But now we want to know about this pleasure circle business and
Ooh.
why anyone would do that.
So I mean, you study Egyptian magic, and so from my understanding of some of the deep ancient Egyptian practices was utilizing pleasure, our life force energy, that is the Jed, that's where the word Jedi comes from, as I'm sure you know, is that pillar within us, and activating and utilizing our Ka, our life force, our energy body to amplify our power, our capacity to manifest, to draw in that which we desire, to be of service. And so for me and for my sisters, especially, a lot of us studied tantric lineages, and so that's one of the lineages that I am definitely a devotee to. And pleasure is not bad, and it's also not something that's supposed to be separate. It's meant to be the thing that enlivens us and fuels us and nourishes us, especially as women. I mean, you see a well-fucked woman walking into a room and you're like, yeah, she's good, because she feels alive, because pleasure is emanating from within her, because that creative activation is the essence of inspiration itself. And so some of my sisters were in my sister Layla's year-long tantra teacher or coaching certification program, which I'm now in with one of my sisters. We were just flicking our beans together at about an hour ago, and they were they were in the year-long program, and we're just doing their homework together, because a lot pleasure rituals to integrate the shadow, to compost the shame and the patriarchal programming, is a huge part of the core teaching. And so we started all doing it together, and it would be if someone had a book deal meeting coming up, and we would hold the specific intention and send the orgasmic energy up into the universe. And from my perspective, we call it a big bang, and it's like a big orgasm. It's a big cosmic contraction and then expansion. And I think that orgasmic energy is probably the most powerful frequency in the universe. And so we have just really reprogrammed our relationship to especially experiencing another woman's pleasure. I had only ever heard another woman's pleasure through a closed door where she's making love with her partner and I'm not supposed to hear because I'm her roommate, but I'm in my room and I can't help myself, or your parents, or people at a party or whatever, and everyone's kind of giggling and laughing. And to experience pleasure in a safe space where maybe your sister's pleasure inspires more pleasure in you, or makes you see where you're shutting yourself down and you're hiding, or you're not accepting your full expression and your full release or your full surrender. It's one of the most potent, powerful practices ever. And when you read about ancient Taoist practices and tantric practices, and even some people's perception of ancient Egyptian lineage, is that this type of pleasure and this type of ceremony and circle, which is really what it was normal and was welcome and was something that of course we would engage in together, because it's the most natural thing. And my partner actually just came to his first sex magic with us. We had our first co-ed sex magic, and it was super edgy for him. We got in a huge fight right before. He didn't want to go, and he went anyway. And at the end, his reflection was, I just can't believe what a big deal I thought this was going to be, and how deeply I now understand how right this is, especially for you women and you goddesses to be doing together. And I mean, since we're in a priestess class, I know I can say this is naughty, but I was bleeding last week and I came out of our pleasure ritual and I just had blood all over myself, holding my dildo in my hand. And I walked in and I was just washing my hands between practices. And my partner goes, what are you guys doing? And I was like, oh, we're just doing our practices. He goes, get it, baby, you're doing God's work. And I was like, yes, that's the kind of man you want. You can just see you in full, raw, wild, absolute, just total unconventional wildness, and know that you're doing God's work or the goddess's work. So it's been a really empowering and totally life transforming practice and experience for me.
Oh, wow. It's so powerful. Do you think you can do that on your own or with your partner? Or does it need to be in a group of women?
Oh yeah, we do sex magic. I mean, he and I do sex magic. We did sex magic to manifest this home, and yeah, you can totally do it on your own. It's really, I have a video about it on YouTube actually. It's just using energy. You can do it as breath work. You don't even have to pleasure yourself. You can if you want, of course. And I've done sex magic rituals. There are sex magic rituals in some of my courses, in my course Witchy Rich and in the second level of Witch School. And some people go to town and totally just want to be in pleasure and naked and writhing around, and some people have the camera on and are just breathing and using the energy just with the frequency of it and with their breath. So yeah, you can do it any way you want. You can make it your own. It doesn't have to be anything wild. And even I did a video with this woman Sky on YouTube, and she shared a ritual that we did, and it was just everyone was clothed and we just did breath together.
That's amazing. And Sky is actually part of our masterclass series too, and she talks so highly of you. And yeah, so I think everyone's going to be going to your YouTube channel and hers and checking out all your amazing work and the work that you also do together and collaborate as sisters too. So it's amazing.
Yeah, we've been crushing that.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's beautiful. You're just giving, again, so much permission and then kind of opening the doors on what maybe was secret or closed knowledge. Why do you think it's been so secret? Like, why aren't we taught these things at school?
Oh, girl, we could have a whole 2-hour conversation about that. Have you read The Alphabet versus the Goddess?
No.
Okay, that's like my personal favorite book. So there's several different theories and aspects to it. From my perspective, when we shifted, this is from Alphabet versus the Goddess, I can't take credit for this, but when we shifted from hieroglyphic or pictographic language into abstract, like, oh, this symbol means A, and then when you put these symbols together, that means this word, and this word means this thing. That's very abstract when you really think about it. Now we think it's so normal because it's how we've all been taught to communicate. But we used to have, oh, this means, this picture of a bird means bird. This picture of a dog means dog. This picture of a wave means wave. Now we have like all these abstract symbols. So not only did that shift the parts of our brains that we utilized in order to communicate. So that's one part of it. The other part, from my perspective, is that people who are hurt, people who have been victimized, who don't know their power, it's threatening for someone to be in power. It's threatening, it's intimidating. And so I think that that's really the biggest thing that I know, is that when, you know, and people who are in their power aren't going to spend money and tithings towards something that's power outside of themselves. They're like, no, I'm good. I'm autonomous. I'm self-sourced. I don't need to pay tithings to the church or whatever this thing outside of me is. And so when you go really deep into the witch wound, the original monotheists, actually the ancient Jews, even in the Old Testament, it says, if you find anyone who worships nature-based deities or who works with the plants, not only are you allowed to kill them, but you're actually encouraged to. And if it's your sister or your cousin or your own daughter or your wife, that much better. How blessed are you to have the opportunity to take the life of this person? And so that's pre-Jesus Christ, that's Old Testament. And then in the New Testament, you know, kings, royals, the reason why we have the King James Bible is because King James, the ruler of that time, was able to make the Bible say whatever he wanted and be like, okay, well, this is what we're going to print now. And so some of the original magic and power of the Bible and of Jesus's words have been mistranslated, misrepresented. In Aramaic, the word for, I'm sure you know this, the word for that is now spirit or Holy Spirit was originally the word for breath, for wind, for air. And so this breath, being able to breathe the Holy Spirit into ourselves is present all around us. It doesn't need anything specific, but there's been so many mistranslations. And witchcraft in the 16th century, the word manipulation in the Bible was changed and replaced with witchcraft. And so we've just all been programmed into thinking that our wisdom, which is, again, the definition of witch, is wrong and bad. Because if we're connected to our own wisdom, as you know, we we're much less easily controlled, and we don't need as much from anyone or anything. If you know how to communicate with the plants, then you can feed yourself and you can heal yourself and you can heal others, and you don't need anyone else to tell you what to do. And if you're connected to your body wisdom, then you can interpret and use the divinatory map of your body, of every part of you, to understand what that ailment or what that pain means spiritually, and then do something about it. And so I was reading, it's actually so funny. I'm obsessed with Harry Potter, obviously. And J.K. Rowling actually wrote the fairy tales that she talks about in one of the books, The Tales of Beedle the Bard. And I read it, and the foreword is by Albus Dumbledore. It's so cute. And he talks about how wizards and witches had to go underground because we started being killed. And it's in this fairy tale, and it makes it seem, oh, it's a fairy tale, but it's true. There's ancient magical lineage from every single part of the world. Even the fact that dragons are present in every major mythology all throughout the planet. There is some dragon-like being, and yet, oh, dragons aren't real. Well, then how did all of these not disconnected, but separate cultures create a relationship with them? And I think it's because they are real, personally. And we weren't safe. It wasn't safe to go out and just gather herbs. It wasn't safe to gather in ritual together. It wasn't safe to do your priestess work or your practices. I mean, some of the deep work, I'm sure just going into a deep breathwork practice can look totally demonic, and yet it's healing. You're healing yourself. You're releasing a blockage. You're releasing some kind of subconscious wound or pain pattern that's keeping you from your highest power. And oh, that's evil. You better watch out. So I think that it's wild. It's sad that it's been kept, but that's why people like us are doing what we're doing, and why it is. I just want to honor you, and I honor myself in the same way, but it's courageous. It's so brave to be doing what we're doing, and to be talking about priestesshood, and to be talking about magic. And this is the leading edge. We're on the forefront. The way that sex is just now a thing that people can talk about and make millions of dollars on coaching. It's like now we're coming into this time where we can reclaim our magic, and where we can teach children. That's a huge part of my mission, is actually creating a real Hogwarts school where we can teach children how to relate to the world in a way that they can utilize their own wisdom to understand whatever they need to, however they need to do it, just by knowing themselves so clearly and having those blocks out of the way. So whoa, I could go on and on,
Where do we sign up? Where do we sign our kids up for that one?
I know, right? Yeah, that's one of my goals right now, is to just start making more content for kids and talking to them about magic and giving them permission to believe. Because if I had a person like me when I was 5, instead of just creating them out of my books, I would have been like, oh my God, I knew it. Yes, magic is real. Woohoo. But instead adults are like, okay, enjoy your fairy tales, little human, So we need someone to give us permission to believe in our fairy tales.
So if women are connecting to a spiritual practice, and they have maybe their own meditation, or they like to listen to guided meditations, but they want to learn more about the magic part, what would you recommend? Like, what's the bridge between just maybe learning how to meditate, shavasana, yoga, but we want to learn how to use this energy. Now we're gaining more awareness. What's the next step?
Honestly, the steps are so different for everyone. So I would say that whatever your heart or your soul is called to. So if that means, if you hear some shamanic drumming and you get really into that, and you want to start listening to shamanic drumming as a deepening into your meditative practice, or buy yourself a drum, or you hear really beautiful sacred mantra singing and you want to get into kirtan, or you love ecstatic dance. I mean, you said you do a lot of dance working, and you want dance to be the thing. If you see the hat and you're like, I'm into that witchcraft stuff, I want to check out what she's doing. That was my personal path, was whatever I felt, even just an inkling of pull or draw or magnetism towards, I just said yes. And I tried it out, and I have tried everything. I've done all the weird, crazy stuff. And I not only have been able to create a beautiful amalgamation for myself, but I think that that's actually the true path towards whatever your personal blend or brand of magic is. Some people have really powerful visions or psychic gifts, and some people don't. I have a lot of clients that are like, oh, I can't visualize, and I'm like, well, try one of my meditations and then that problem is solved. But you know, I think that really doing deep breath work is such a great opportunity, choosing a specific part of your body, whether that's somewhere where you have pain, or specifically into your heart or into your womb or into your yoni, into your roots in the ground, spending time in nature, meditating, add a crystal into it. What does that situation make you feel? I was just talking with my team about ritual bath salts, like asking or like putting different herbs into a bath, smelling different essential oils. What does it bring forward in you? What does it make you think of? What does it make you feel? The pathways are infinite. Mm-hmm. And luckily now there's so much on YouTube and so many books and so many different things that you can check out. And I would just say that finding what lights you up, finding what makes your soul feel the way that this hat makes me feel, that's the way into your magic. And the only block in my experience of our magic is the stories that we've been programmed, like we were just talking about, that it's not safe, that someone will reject you or hate you or abandon you or make fun of you, whatever the case may be. And when you can see that story, look at it, hold it, understand where it came from, maybe a parent, maybe a peer, maybe a pastor, a preacher, whatever, wherever it comes from, one of my practices is to look at that person's life. And generally, I don't want a life like that. Bless them, you know, but my parents aren't super happy. I love them so much. God has blessed them. In some ways they are, but you know, so I look at, and the peers, the people who bullied me and made fun of me and told me I was weird for being into fairy tales and Roman mythology and all that stuff. I wouldn't trade lives with those people for so much money. And so I look at that and I think, okay, thank you. I hear you. I appreciate you. And this feels right. This feels inspired. I want to try this out. And doing it anyway, then you start to show yourself and the grooves. That's that permission that you talk about. You know, I love someone called me a permissionary once. And I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I am. I'm not a missionary. I'm a permissionary. And so that will then teach your neural pathways. Sorry, helicopter. Thank you. Bless your light. Hope everyone's okay. But then the transformation of that pattern will teach your neural pathways, oh, this is actually what's safe. Listening to myself, honoring my desires, saying yes to my expression, my soul's calling, not the opposite. And so there's so many ways. I mean, yoga was really the thing that got me back into it, just noticing every time the teacher would say something that was so perfect. It was exactly what I needed to hear. And following those little breadcrumbs, following the spiritual breadcrumbs will lead you to your magic, and you can't go wrong.
Yes, I love it. And then you've given us so much already, but if you could wave your magic wand for women as a collective, for all our gender, what would you want for all women?
Just this, that we're talking about: safety, permission to be yourself, feeling your divine and innate worthiness of your magic, being able to, if I could just brew a cosmic cauldron of the magic potion, it would just be that we all actually felt safe to be ourselves, that we felt safe in our pleasure, worthy of our abundance, worthy of love, worthy of expressing ourselves, safe to say what we think and be who we are and feel what we feel, whether it's rage one moment or bliss and ecstasy or orgasmic pleasure, to be radiant, to hold and support each other, just like you're doing. Hey, let's all gather together and share this wisdom and share this magic. We all have it. We all have these unique flavors of magic. And I just wish that we could all feel safe enough to share it without worrying about competition or comparison, and and celebrating each other's pleasures, celebrating each other's wins, celebrating each other's magic and beauty in all shapes and sizes and colors, and even spectrum on the or on the gender spectrum. And so yeah, that's and the other thing, you know, I'm a big moon blood witch, and to know that that time of the month that we've been told is gross and bad and yucky and men don't want to make love to us and all that, to remember that that is our sacred time, that that is when our channel is clear and when we are extra powerful and we get to give ourselves permission to be that cosmic receiver and channel literally for our own lives, our own wisdom, and ultimately whatever magic is being called for the collective.
And that is so what you are, a powerful channel to bring through. Everything you're saying today is just so beautiful and so well said. And you're bringing it in a way, bringing through it in a way that people, I think, can really feel and understand in quite a deep way, myself included. And so I feel it's such an honor to have you part of this masterclass series, and so appreciate you and everything you're doing to help this planet heal. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Queen. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm doing my best. It's, and you know, I think that we could all be doing more. So that's, I appreciate you giving us all the opportunity to share and opening this space to as many women as feel called, because yeah, there's so much more. And I, someone said from Seaspiracy, I just saw this quote that not like one person can't do everything, but every person can do something. And so it's really just an opportunity for us all to remember that our gifts and our power are so important. And I've been really working with the lighthouse energy, that the world is lost in a storm. So let us shine so bright. Let us be the lighthouse, just so that people can remember how to come home to themselves.
So beautiful. And I know you're going to share something beautiful with us. Can you tell us a little bit about what it might be?
Yes, so I would love to offer all of you amazing priestesses one of my special meditations, and it is one of my greatest gifts, if I do say so myself. And it will just send you on a journey to discover your magic and feel into whatever it is that's calling you, and whatever your soul is yearning to let yourself feel and be and express.
That is amazing. I can't wait to listen to it myself. And thank you so much for today. I so appreciate your time and energy and sharing your magic with us.
Yes, Queen. Can't stop, won't stop.
Okay, take care, my friend. See you soon.
Bless, sister. Thank you so much.
Bye.